Hey, greetings everyone, it's Chris here. I want to talk a little bit about investment. So as I get up there in age, I'm definitely thinking more about retirement, which for me is a decade out, but I'm hopeful that a decade is a good period of time for me to kind of get a plan together that will allow me to retire. Now, in the context of retirement, there's a whole part of what you do that's involved with investments. And there's so I'm going to talk a little bit today about investments that are non-traditional investments, and I'm going to specifically look at a weapon, a firearm, versus a silver coin as an investment type, and compare the two things. Now, for me, they're certainly not investments that I hope to rely upon when I hit my retirement years. When I was a younger guy, about a decade ago, I convinced my wife that a firearm was an investment in the sense that it will increase in value, and so part of me just wanted to buy some guns, which I did, and I still have a lot of the guns, and as I'm thinking about other investments, I think back on guns as investments, and I've always thought about precious metals as investments, although I don't own any. I've been able to avoid that bug, even though I've been bitten by the bug. But long ago, and I had this in another video, I do have a single silver coin that I bought when I was, I think, 16 years old, and I was interested to compare the two, right? Because investments, first off, an investment at a basic level, and I'm not an investment professional, to me it's just something that increases in value over time. And generally I'm a long-term investor, so I'm buying things today hoping that in 10 or 20 or 30 years they've increased in significant value so that I can cash in on that value and do other things, or pass it down to others, versus trading, where you're looking more for short-term gains in the value of a thing, right? And so if you think about traditional investments in the stock market, you have people that invest for long-term, which is what I am. I don't trade, versus people that are trading. They're doing daily or multiple transactions within a single day, looking to gain, to take advantage of the ups and downs in the value of a thing, whether it's a commodity or a stock or anything, right? So there's trading, which is a short-term type of activity. There's investing, which is a long-term type of activity. I don't make any income off investments. There is a whole world of resources, and there's other YouTube videos that talk about people that make income off of investments. I haven't found that to be something that I'm effectively able to do, because to make income from an investment means I'm cashing in those investments and to use them to cover day-to-day expenses. And so I'm certainly not positioned where I'm able to live off income. I have a regular job, right? And I go to work and I get income from my work. And if you listen to Dave Ramsey at all, he'll say your income is your most powerful wealth building tool. And I believe that, right? I believe that because I don't have a lot of alternatives. I don't have a pile of investment wealth that's generating income for me. So anyway, that's probably more than we need to talk about for investments, but I want to talk a little bit about investments, because we're going to look specifically at in this case, a Saiga shotgun, which I purchased about 10 years ago, maybe a little less than 10 years ago, and a silver coin. And I wanted to look at the value of the shotgun when I bought it, and then look at the price of silver when I bought the gun, even though I owned the silver from long ago, and just see how these two types of I call them commodities, have fared over the last 10 years, and talk a little bit about that, right? Because I've always been curious. I've never actually run the math, but in preparation for this, I had to run the math. So I'd like to share what I've discovered with you and talk a little bit about investing in one versus the other. So let's take a look. Well, these are the items that we're going to be talking about. So they're both still in the box. I've tried to preserve them as new as they can be. The small box, of course, the small blue box is the silver coin. The long cardboard box is the firearm that we're going to look at. So in both cases, they're unused. The silver, I certainly haven't done nothing. It's just sat in my cupboard for years and years and years. The gun, has sat in storage for years and years and years. Neither have been used, so both are like brand new condition. So this is what we're talking about. So we're gonna look at these in a little more detail. So here are the items outside of their box. We have a silver coin and a Saiga shotgun. So I'm going to zoom into the coin. We can take a look at it. It is a 1987 silver constitutional coin. I think it's $1, right? So as currency goes, this is a dollar coin. The value of the silver today, I think, is right around $16 an ounce. If you're trying to buy this, you probably pay a premium because it's a coin. So maybe I could sell this for $18 a coin, maybe $19. You know, it's hard to say. The gun is a little bit different, right? So the gun, if we zoom, I'm not going to zoom into it. I got to zoom out to it actually. This is a standard Saiga. It's a semi-automatic shotgun. You know, about 10 years ago, there was quite a following of this particular weapon, specifically because you could do a conversion modification to it, where you could turn it into a weapon with a pistol grip, and you could load big drums for magazines to hold your ammunition. So you get like a 20-round drum, plug it in. You could equip it with all kinds of other tactical gear, which I did on different weapons, and I'll do a different video about that. But this one I just wanted to hold on to because I wasn't sure if it would go up or down in value. The price seemed pretty reasonable, and so this one I picked up for $460. And at the time it was funny because I had watched the price go up. I think there was a time when you could buy them for $299, and so I bought it at what was a high price. Nowadays, we're going to look and see what you can buy this weapon for. So we'll check online and see what the price is. Then we're going to check out the price of silver over time, and then come to some conclusion about what might be a better investment. And of course, the best investment is the investment that you're comfortable with. But we're going to look at some of these factors. This is the part of the video that I make the standard disclaimer that firearms and weapons are not toys. If you treat them like toys, there's a high chance that somebody's going to get hurt or that somebody could get killed. So please be careful with your weapons. Always treat them as if they were loaded, because sometimes they are and sometimes you don't know that. So standard disclaimer. So when we're looking at the price of guns, you know, there's a lot of ways. At the end of the day, something like a gun, the value is only in what somebody will pay for it. So there's a number of ways that you can sell a gun, and at all times you should be using a federally licensed, federal firearms license. Somebody with a federal firearms license is what I'm saying. And so there's people that have a federal firearms license, an FFL, and so you buy and sell through them. And if you have one yourself, then you can run these transactions. Otherwise, I use somebody and they can charge anywhere from $10 to $15 to $20. I think $20 is the highest I've paid, and then sometimes they can go up from there. A lot of times gunsmiths will have them, pawn shops will often have them. Anyone can be an FFL or have an FFL, and so you do need to make your purchases through there, or you can buy from a store, in which case their published rates are the rates that you're going to look at. For something like a firearm, I'm a big fan of Gunbroker, and so I'm a fan of it because it allows me to buy guns at competitive rates. And essentially Gunbroker is an auction site, which the auction function in a transaction is it's a good way to determine the value of a thing. And so what I did was I was tracking a Saiga semi-automatic shotgun like I own, and here it is. I think they say 18 inches. I think the barrel's actually 19 inches, but that's okay. What I was interested in to see what the price that they got was, and it was $750, which tells me there were 17 bids, so the price got bid up. If I want to look at the bid history, which I'll do right here, I can see that it started at, let's see, they started this bid off at $2, maybe it was a $0 start, and then you can see it kind of climbed up, and there was a bid off going between who looks like Sanchez and Roscoe, right? So they bid it up to $750. So that tells me that it's reasonable to expect between these two, you know, between $650 and $750 is a reasonable range. I also want to note that Gunbroker sells you reports. So if you're interested, I think it was $2 per gun. They'll tell you all of the data points related to a particular firearm that you're interested in. So they'll show you the low and the high costs and everywhere in the middle, so you can kind of get a sense of if you're looking to sell a weapon, where you can price it to move quickly. And so a gun, back to the main point here, is that a gun is only worth what somebody will pay you for it. And like a lot of other investment type items, even real estate or anything, the lower the price, the quicker it sells. The higher the price, the longer you got to be prepared to wait for the right buyer to come along. So I get my pricing from here. $750 seems reasonable. I've seen people trying to sell them higher. A lot of the customized weapons, which I'll do another video on the customization of the Saiga and some things about that, but this is a base model, has a 5-round mag. You can see that's what it comes with in the picture here. Sells for $750. I bought mine back in 2011 for $460. And let's look at how this might actually hold up. So what I did was use Google Sheets here, and I documented some of the costs. So you can see I've got in this set of fields here, I've got my cost for the Saiga weapon. It cost me $460. I paid roughly $30 for shipping, another $20 to have the FFL do the processing on my end. So it cost me $510 back in April of 2011. And again, I felt that was kind of high because I'd seen them just within the last 2 years. The price got run up. In Russia, it's based on the Kalashnikov receiver, which is like an AK-47 style of rifle. So they're not high-end weapons. And so the price seemed, even at this price, it seemed high to me, but I suspected it might go higher. So here we are in 2020, and we can see that the price through Gunbroker, and I don't have a lot of other data points that tell me if this is within the reasonable range or not, but I'm going to say it's reasonable. So you can see that I could have made $240 between buying then and selling now. The return on my investment was $47. Now if I look at, and I've kind of cherry picked the time period, so I won't deny that. When I look at the price for silver back in April 11, the same time I bought this Saiga, it was going for $40 per ounce. If you're buying the rounds, which is just a coin, or yeah, it's like a coin, there's generally a premium on them, about $3 difference between the price and what you can buy a coin for. So today, spot price for silver is at $15, and so it means I can buy a round, I can buy a physical, and I'm always interested in physical for me. For what I'm not interested in buying certificates of ownership, where I'm essentially trading commodities in a market where I'm just buying silver one day, selling it 2 weeks later, looking to, arbitrage, the price between one point and the other. That's not my style of investment. And so over this 9-year period of time, I've lost $25 if I bought this round back in 2011, giving me a negative return of 58. Negative 58. I lost 58% of the value. Versus owning the weapon, I gained 47%. You can't. That's okay. I did just for pure transparency, want to compare that to the market. 2011, April 2011, we were coming out of the financial crisis of 2008, 2009. There was high levels of unemployment. The market for houses was just kind of a wreck, and it was on the rebound at this point. And so the market was low. But if you look at where the market's at today, even after coming through this crazy spring that we've had with the market dropping significantly and then it's picking back up a little bit, we've seen an increase of 14.99 on the S&P index, which would give you a 112% rate of return on an investment, right? So as investments go, it's hard to beat the S&P. Now the problem with the S&P is it has zero physical trade value. So, this is where we separate, like, investing in the S&P is how I would plan for my retirement, right? Investing in a piece of silver or a Saiga shotgun in this case is how I would invest for the end of the world, right? It's funny, you can laugh about it. I hope the day never comes, and it's completely like insurance to me. But so between the two of a Saiga shotgun and a silver round, as much as, it's funny, I want to accumulate some silver. To me, it has no practical value at all. And let's look at the price of silver and just what it's done, because when I looked at This is just for 2011, and 2011 was a crazy year for silver. Apparently, you can see it had some. Its low point was in the mid 20s, where I could see 26, 27, maybe it dipped down into 25, 26, and then it had a high of near 50 within a year, right? So you saw 100% increase in the value of this commodity within a 12-month window. So there's a ton of volatility within silver. And if you were a trader and you were able to catch the highs sell at the highs, buy at the lows, repeat, you could have made some money. That's where you're trading that's your trade as you're a trader, and you're not necessarily investing. You're just buying commodities at certain price points and making sure you get rid of them. So that was a crazy year, a ton of volatility in the price. I could have just as easily picked a price earlier in the 10,000s, or like the 20 aughts, right? 2005, 2004. The price would have been a lot lower. I wouldn't have taken a beating on it, but I wouldn't have made money either, right? The chart would have been more. I wouldn't have had a negative return. I might have had like a 2% return or a 0% return. So certainly not competitive with the market, and not in this case competitive with just this shotgun. And also, and this is the point I made in a different video just on financial prepping in general, is that silver, the problem I have with silver, and people can obviously make money buying and selling gold, silver, any of these precious metals as commodities, trading them. But for the worst case planning, which oftentimes as preppers we tend to think about, I need stuff to, if there's a massive earthquake or something, or the world turns poop, I need something that I can rely on. And I just have not been convinced that any of these coins are going to provide you any value at all, other than maybe you can skip them like rocks across a lake, right? Because their use value is zero. Whereas a shotgun has several types of use value, and they tend to be obvious. The first one, and the one that I get out of it, is it has some. The use is that you get to do target practice with it, right? So it has some value just for the plinky target practice value that it has. If you're a hunter and you need to subsist on game, then weapon is something that allows you to achieve that goal, whether it's birds or small varmints, something that you can eat. It has that value. And then the other one, and this is the worst case, is a defensive situation where you need to use the weapon to defend yourself. And I'm not likely to produce any videos about using a weapon to defend yourself, because for me, if I find myself needing to use a weapon to defend myself, it's just a pretty bad proposition all the way around. And there's nothing in me that ever wants to be in a firefight for lots of reasons. I do not see a lot of winning options coming out of a firefight, period, whether you're live or dead. So, but those are the three different use cases that a weapon has versus a silver round, right? That piece of silver, it is going to sit unused, it can't be used, right? The only thing you can do is maybe melt it down, and then it can be put into a manufacturing process, where silver is used a lot in the production of all kinds of different technological things. But as end of the world planning goes, I don't see there's a lot of value. And I'm not hoping for the end of the world. I certainly don't wish it. But if you buy insurance for anything, then you're familiar with the idea of planning for the unexpected and being prepared. So hopefully this gave you some value. I've always wondered, just from a value proposition, an increase in the value of these things that I have, and which one has been the better. I'll call it an investment, but has not lost value. And one thing I'll say about firearms is firearms is a lot like, I would say, property and real estate. From what I hear and what I've read, is that you're always making money on the buy, right? You make money when you find a deal, and then you can convert that deal and sell it at a higher price, because for whatever reason the market has discounted it. And so I think firearms and weapons they're similar. If you're going to get a deal, it's when you buy it at a reduced rate. And sometimes people are just desperate to get rid of firearms. Sometimes they just don't know what the value is, and they just want it off their hands. So there's all kinds of ways that you can make deals. Yeah, that's it. I hope this has been helpful. Certainly it's just an exercise in assessing the value of things that you are holding as investments. In this case, it's silver and a gun. I will have another video specifically on this type of weapon and some things that you want to know about it. It's interesting. It's fascinating to me. It's kind of it's one of these things you can geek out on. just like anything else, people that build up cars or do anything, there's a lot of tinkering you can do with them. So I hope this has been useful. Thanks for watching. Have any questions, put them down in the comments below. As always, take care. We'll see you next time.